Here's the game. It's amazing. Roll the intro. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm just really excited in case you couldn't tell. This will come as absolutely no surprise to any of my longtime viewers, even less so if you've seen my Twitch live streams from a few years back. But I love the hell out of this game. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door holds a very special place in my heart for too many reasons to count. I already mentioned in the previous video that it was my introduction to both Mario's role-playing adventures and RPGs in general, but the GameCube was the console that solidified my love for video games. And with this being one of the first titles I ever owned for it, Thousand Year Door played a huge part in my growth as a gamer. Since we got it as a Christmas gift in 2006, my brother and I have gone back to it and beaten it more times than we're probably willing to admit. This is how many hours I put into my original save file, and that's the one thing that hasn't changed going from childhood to adulthood. I have no life. For years I thought I was the only one that really loved it that much, but thanks to the internet, I realized that plenty of other people felt the same way. The original N64 title has its fans, but more people seem to agree that Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is the best in the series. But is it really worthy of all that praise? Does this game truly warrant the recognition it's gotten in the 15 years following its release?
Yes!
Okay, I know it seems like I'm just rushing myself, but I seriously have too many things to talk about, so I don't want to waste any more time. Let's just pick our save file, call it, I don't know, Wumpy, and jump right in. This is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. So the game starts out in almost the exact same fashion as the first one, with Parakarry delivering a letter to Mario and Luigi's house. Peach isn't throwing a party this time, however. Instead, she sends Mario a map and invites him to join her in search of a mysterious treasure located in a town called Rogueport. When he arrives there, Mario meets a girl named Goombella and helps fend off a horde of baddies called X-Nauts, led by Lord Crump, who looks like Dr. Robotnik if he cosplayed as the devil from Devil World after joining the X-Men. Goombella is an archaeology student conducting research on the very treasure that Mario's looking for, so she takes him to her teacher, Professor Frankly, to get a little more insight. Wait, something about him seems familiar. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
I love you!
Please stop saying that. So as far as I can tell from all the hoopla Frankly's spewing, the treasure is hidden behind a gate known as the Thousand-Year Door.
Hey, that is the game's subtitle!
Oh, darn it.
The 7 crystal stars are needed to open the door, and these star-shaped rocks are scattered all across the world. After we show him the map, Frankly reveals that it's actually a magical map, and by holding it up in front of the Thousand-Year Door, this causes each of the crystal stars' locations to be revealed on the map. By the way, is this area making anyone else think of Prince of Persia? I think it's the columns hanging from the ceiling. I'm getting some real Sands of Time vibes just looking at them. Well, anyway, from this point forward, the basic quest is nothing too different from the original Paper Mario. You travel to different worlds, build your team up, take out the bad guys, meet up with this creepy French disco dude every now and then, grab the MacGuffins, and move on to the next chapter. Though while the plot might not seem that grand or extraordinary at first, in typical Paper Mario fashion, each world gives you new characters to meet and new challenges to overcome. Every chapter is like an episode of its own TV show with twists and turns, and they're all so unique and so varied that it doesn't just keep you guessing what could possibly happen next, but it also makes you question whether or not you're really playing a Mario game, and I love it for that. Most of Chapter 6 takes place on a train called the XS Express and has you solving mysteries, going through a Bob-omb family's personal belongings to grab a star piece, and returning a lost diary to this passenger who died years ago and became a ghost. I wonder what would happen if I read this. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I took a peek.
12 seconds later.
Ding dang darn it, I dung dang died. Chapter 3 takes you to Glitzville, where you become a professional wrestler known as the Great Gonzalez, and fight your way through the ranks to become the champion and obtain the crystal star on the champ's belt. But you also uncover some mysteries surrounding Grubba, the guy who runs the place, and his assistant, Jolene. Jolene? You cool over there? Just waiting for me to move a little closer so you can... Oh, okay. Chapter 4 involves you traveling to Twilight Town, where the people are cursed to randomly turn into pigs. Though, judging from the town's name, I would have assumed they would turn into Heartless. Then we beat the guy responsible for this, a Dupligos from the first game, and since I had a W emblem badge equipped to give me Wario's color scheme, immediately something's not right here. Well, it turns out that he managed to steal Mario's identity, leaving the real Mario a purple silhouette of his former self. And the only way we can change him back is by figuring out the Dupligos name, which isn't Ducklips or Pokemon, with an upside-down question mark, it's Dupless. This guy's one of my favorite characters in the game. He thinks he's such a big shot, but he's really kind of a dork. He's not very bright either. Later, he tries to sneak on board the XS Express while impersonating a celebrity named Zip Toad, and I didn't even need to do anything to catch him. He just jumps around his room and does himself in by simply bumping into me. Good going there, Slick. I think my favorite chapter in the whole game has to be Chapter 5. The Crystal Star is located on an island called Keelhaul Key, and it's being guarded by a pirate ghost named Cortez. God, I wish. But the reason why I love this part so much isn't because of the setting, or the fact that this pirate is so obviously Lord Crump in disguise, something even he calls us out on for noticing. I love Chapter 5 the most because it introduces one of the most memorable characters in the entire series, Bobbery. When we first meet him, he's a curmudgeonly old sailor who refuses to come to Keelhaul Key with us for seemingly no reason. Then the juice bar owner Podley tells us about his backstory in, without question, the game's heaviest moment. The music stops to let the tragedy sink in as we find out that Bobbery's wife Scarlet passed away while he was out at sea. And feeling guilty about not being there for her, he secluded himself from the rest of the world and never went sailing again. Before she passed, however, Scarlet wrote him a letter encouraging him to move on with his life. And after he reads it, Bobbery finally agrees to help us on our quest. This man has lived in fear and turmoil and wallowed in self-pity for so long, but now the words of his lost love have helped him regain the sense of adventure and the lust for life he once had. It's the deepest and most emotional journey a character in a Mario game has ever gone through. Now here's Peach talking to a horny computer. Whiplash! So Princess Peach gets her moments to shine in between chapters like the first game, but here she has way more to do. After she gets taken and held captive by the X-Nauts and their leader, Sir Grotus, Peach meets a supercomputer named Tech, who develops romantic feelings for her and seems to enjoy referencing Hadaway songs. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. The Not Hal 9000 agrees to help Peach uncover information on Grotus's plans and deliver it to Mario, but in return, she has to help Tech develop a better understanding of the concept of love, which involves performing interesting tasks like waltzing with a projection of herself. This game is weird, but just when you thought this was going to be the same as her side story in the original Paper Mario, the introduction of Tech totally goes against that assumption. It's the same basic idea, sneaking around and gathering info to pass on to Mario and all that, but it's a lot more involved since she's mostly going around by herself, with Tech informing her on what to do and where to go. At one point, she goes into a dressing room, puts on an X-Naut uniform, and approaches Grotus to get the word right from his mouth. At another point, she crafts a potion to make herself... Oh, hold on, let me try it again. Okay, so, at another point, she crafts a potion to make herself invisible and sneak into Grotus's office to send Tech data from his personal computer. But since her dress and jewelry are still visible, that means she has to go butt-ass naked for most of this mission. Yep, Peach gets naked in this game. Twice, and the second time is when we see her taking a shower behind this bathtub curtain. I'm increasingly getting uncomfortable staying on this subject, so let's move on. With Peach being abducted by the X-Nauts and Mario searching for the crystal stars, how does someone like Bowser react to these news? Well, after Kammy Koopa gives him the Disney 411, he decides to go after Peach and the crystal stars himself. This leads to another new addition to the game, playable Bowser sections. While they're not nearly as fleshed out as Peach's scenario, the Koopa King still gets his moments in the spotlight. His subplot gives us some of the funniest scenes in the entire game, including interactions with various side characters, and my personal favorite where he talks to Peach through the window of a house in Petalburg, and then it turns out to be a poster hung up in front of the window. But when he's not getting into dick measuring contests with Crump or threatening to bore someone to death, Bowser likes to pull a Pepsi throwback and go through some classic Super Mario Bros. Style side-scrolling levels. What I love most about these stories is that, unlike the original where Mario and Peaches are mostly kept separate until the final chapter, everything gradually intertwines over the course of the game. Bowser revisits locations we've previously been to and even catches up with Mario a few times, and everything Mario does in his story affects everything that happens in Bowser and Peach's stories, forcing characters like Grotus and the Shadow Sirens to make decisions that also affect Mario's story. The amount of depth found in the game's overarching plot makes the first Paper Mario look like a second-grade essay. There's way more going on here, and there's a ton of side characters to interact with as well, like a badge thief named Miss Mouse, a crime boss named Don Pianta, and this little toad in Petalburg who goes on about all the games he's been playing, including the one he's already in. But even with all the side stuff taken into consideration, the game never loses focus of the task at hand. I'll go a little deeper into the story later on, but for now, I'll just say that it kept me hooked from start to finish. Oh, okay, too much? Well, I'll just drop that. No, I don't want it. No, I don't want this. No, stop, let me drop, God, that was annoying. So gameplay-wise, Paper Mario The Thousand-Year Door builds on just about everything that was in the N64 title. Mario doesn't have his spin dash anymore, but at least he starts off with the hammer as a default attack now. That's very much appreciated. Mario's jump and hammer upgrades from the first game are back, only here you have Toadette to give you a little tutorial on how to use them. She wasn't really a good character back then, so... But Mario's also got some new abilities at his disposal. Sometimes you come across black keys that can be used to open these large black chests. Doing so releases one of 4 spirits that'll give you new paper-related maneuvers. One lets you turn into a paper airplane, one lets you go paper thin and slip through different crevices, one lets you roll up into a tube to get past certain obstacles, and the last one lets you turn into a paper boat to sail across water like Sushi in the previous game. I love how the spirits make it seem like they're cursing you with these abilities, like they're supposed to be bad or something. And even better, by the time you get to the last one, you already know what their shtick is, but you let them do it anyway to make them feel better about themselves. When a game can make something as simple as obtaining new abilities a running joke that gradually gets funnier and funnier every time it happens, it's gotta be doing something right. I mean, it's funnier than any of the jokes I come up with. Thousand Year Door was originally supposed to give Mario the same party he had in the original game, so because of that, some members of Mario's new team have strikingly similar abilities to members of Mario's old team. Goombella's our new Goombario, Koops is our new Cooper, Bobbery's our new Bombette. Although, I would argue that the new guys are not only more interesting as characters, particularly in Bobbery's case, but also way more unique in how they perform. Flurry's a retired stage actress and wind spirit who can blow away hidden flaps to reveal hidden secrets or passageways. Vivian starts out as a bad guy, but gets fed up with being abused by her sister Beldam, and joins Mario's party after helping him get his name and body back from Dupless. Along with her fire-based attacks, she also makes for an interesting combination of Bo's veil ability and Watt's gender identity issues. In Chapter 3, you rescue a bouncing egg from a hot dog stand in Glitzville, and it later hatches into a Yoshi kid that you can hatch in different colors depending on how long you wait for it to hatch, and even give a name. And if you've seen my Twitch streams, I think you know what I'm gonna go with. Couscous, give me some couscous hype! Give me some couscous hype! Anyway, Couscous here can carry you on his back like Lackluster, but also float over wide gaps like Parakarry, and his Stampede attack is downright awesome in terms of visuals and functionality. course, it's one of those attacks that you can't use until you upgrade your partners. The N64 game was pretty generous with how you could replenish your health and upgrade your partners, since they both mostly came down to hitting blocks. In this game, nothing is free anymore. Hitting health blocks and sleeping at inns all cost a certain number of coins each time, though you can also use inn coupons for the latter. Upgrading partners also requires a fee, but instead you pay with shine sprites that can be found in each world, and 3 shine sprites are needed to upgrade each of your party members. Compared to the first game, Thousand Year Door has a crap load of more things to do outside the main quest. Some of the ones I look forward to involve meeting up with Luigi and having him tell stories about what he's been up to. Apparently, he's on an adventure of his own, as he claims to be collecting pieces of something called the Marvelous Compass in hopes of rescuing Princess Eclair of the Waffle Kingdom. His partners, quote-unquote, are quick to tell you he's making it all up, but I love how hard Luigi tries to convince us it really happened. He even goes so far as to have multiple books published about his adventure as part of a series. And I can imagine if these books were made into movies, the last one would needlessly be split into 2. Mario also has a Mailbox SP that he can use to read emails. This is how Peach communicates with Mario to update him on what the X-Nauts are up to, but you can also catch up with the Rogueport newsletter. These are really fun to read, but I wish they didn't have to report on what Zesty and Toadsworth are up to when we're not around. And I really wish I didn't have to read the phrase total toes in a Mario game. On that subject, recipes are back, and you can cook them with Zesty after buying her a new contact lens. There's the Pianta Parlor on the west side of Rogueport, where you can play minigames based on your new paper abilities, and on the east side of Rogueport is the Trouble Center, where you can offer to help different characters with any troubles they're having. Miss Mouse has one available later in the game, and completing it will have her join your party. She kinda works like Watt in that she helps you find hidden goodies, but she's a lot more vague about where they're located. That's only on the overworld because she's much more useful in battle. Speaking of which, the battle system functions similarly to the first game, but here it's seen a lot of improvements. First off, partners have been made far more versatile since they can use items now, and they actually have their own HP this time. No more getting paralyzed after taking a hit. Thank God. You can still use items too, but please don't even think of taking a trial stew into battle.
Is very bad.
At least action commands are much more trustworthy. They're a lot quicker and more precise to perform than the original, and you can even press the B button to deal damage back to an enemy when you're being attacked. It's not very easy to pull off, but when you get it right, it's incredibly satisfying. There's also this slot machine that refills your heart, flower, and/or star points if you manage to get 3 of the same icons. Again, not always easy, but I did manage to get 2 bingos for this playthrough, and it's nevertheless fulfilling. The Crystal Stars essentially replace the Star Spirits from the original, both in terms of their significance to the plot and their presence in battle. Each Crystal Star gives you a new ability, and they easily make the Star Spirits look like a complete joke. Stuff like Power Lift is great for briefly increasing your attack and defense, Showstopper's basically a screen nuke, and more offensive abilities like Earth Tremor, Art Attack, and especially Supernova can make mincemeat of almost any foe. I found myself using Art Attack the most, since you can draw shapes around your enemies to deal damage. Oh, look, a Crazy Daisy. Alright, once she's done with her attack, I'm gonna... Oh man, I fell asleep. Alright, well, as long as I... Ooh, okay, that was lucky, I guess. Wait, why are you doing? I'm already asleep. What are you doing? You know, I never thought I'd have to use a clip from the cinematic classic Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer in any of my videos, but this feels appropriate.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
God bless Chris Evans.
Like the first game, these attacks require star power to use, but now it's much easier to obtain. Battles take place on a stage in front of a live studio audience. If you can impress them enough with stylish moves or simple smiling and waving, they'll give you additional SP, and the larger the crowd, the more the star gauge fills up. The audience can directly impact the battle itself in other ways. Some audience members will occasionally throw things at you like items, heart points, or flower points to help, while others might try to throw objects to hurt you, so you have to be quick enough to strike back in order to avoid taking a hit. And that's only the random stuff that happens off stage. On stage, anything can happen. Spotlights can fall on either you or your enemies, Shy Guys can go backstage and cause things to fall from the ceiling, even the scenery can fall on us, which surprisingly ended up saving me a couple times. I recall one time when I was playing this game a few years ago, I was in a battle with one of the bosses, and all of a sudden a meteor came down. An actual meteor. I have no idea how this happened, and I was never able to trigger it again, but I did find footage of it on YouTube, so at least I know it wasn't just my imagination.
And out of nowhere, a meteor hits him.
In general, the combat is more of what was done in the original Paper Mario, but with all the necessary changes made here, battles are far more rewarding and engaging. And not only can you have Merly cast her spell on you again, like in the first game, but winning more battles and leveling up even changes the theater you fight in, with more seats to hold bigger audiences, and added special effects like pyrotechnics and smoke machines. While we're still on the battle system, one thing I always liked doing was going back to the Glitz Pit after getting the 3rd Crystal Star, and beating all the fighters again to regain the Champ's Belt. This is one of my favorite ways to get more coins and increase my star points. But if you want to do that with a little more challenge, then I'd suggest going through the Pit of 100 Trials. 100 floors of battle after battle with only the shortest of breaks in between. Oh, since I'm back in Rogueport, I can have Zest cook more recipes to add to my list. Okay, I'm gonna come clean for a second. The playthrough I recorded for this video was about 23 hours altogether, and most of that time was spent goofing off and steering away from the main adventure. Solving troubles, cooking recipes, buying badges from shops, or paying Dazzle with star pieces to get even more badges, cooking recipes, finding items to save in item shops for later to cook them into more recipes, cooking recipes. It sounds like I just wasted a lot of time, especially considering I already got everything in my old save file, so why do it again? Well, because I just got lost in the zone. I was hypnotized by the game's charm, and I wanted more of it. Thousand Year Door is already a hard game to put down, but all the extra stuff just makes it even harder to let go of the controller. In my case, I can't let it go at all since it's literally glued to my hands. Someone please help me, I haven't eaten in days. There's hardly anything about Thousand Year Door that I don't look forward to. I say hardly because the one exception I have is with the General White Goose Chase. Yeah, I'm sure a bunch of you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, I'll fill you in. When you get to Chapter 7, you have to get shot out of a cannon in Far Outpost to get to the moon where the last crystal star is kept. In order to use it, you need to get permission from 2 Bob-ombs named Gold Bob and General White. Gold Bob is chillin' in Poshley Heights, so you can get to him no problem, but General White?
No.
For whatever reason, General White decided to do a little traveling, so you have to go back to pretty much every single world you've already visited to try and find him. But every time you ask someone where he is, they'll say he's moved on to another world, so then you have to go there to find him, which could take a long time depending on the worlds, and the same thing happens over and over and over again. Think of it as The Princess is in Another Castle, except it was made into a side quest. It's not even a side quest, it's something you have to go through in order to beat the game. Then by the end, it turns out that General White was sleeping at a house in Far Outpost, right back where we started. You can't even skip all the backtracking and go straight to the house because he won't be there, so you have to go through each world just to find him. This is easily the worst part of the game, a complete waste of time that deserves all the lengthy paragraphs Peach can mash into text communicator. But now that that's over with, let's get back to the story. Thousands of years ago, a town was caught in the middle of a cataclysmic event that caused it to cave into the depths of the earth. Rogueport was built over the ruins, and in the present day, there have been legends spreading about a mysterious treasure hidden underground. The same treasure that Mario and his friends have been looking for this whole time. Later we find out that the treasure actually contains the spirit of a 1,000-year-old demon called the Shadow Queen, and the spirits locked in the black chests are those of the 4 heroes that fought her off in the past. Which doesn't have much bearing on the plot, but is a pretty cool detail. After Mario and his party obtain the last of the crystal stars, they return to Rogueport and manage to open the 1,000-year door, which leads them into the Palace of Shadow. Soon they're confronted by Grotus, who wants to use the power of the crystal stars to resurrect the Shadow Queen and take over the world. But we're not having any of that, so taste my awkwardly drawn shapes of doom, you vile fiend. Then suddenly Bowser and Kammy Koopa come falling through the ceiling and proceed to attack us. Grotus takes this opportunity to take off with Peach and bring her to the Shadow Queen's resting place. When Mario and the others make it there, Beldum suddenly appears and reveals that she was the mastermind behind this whole thing. She spread the rumors of the treasure throughout Rogueport, believing someone would try to open the Thousand-Year Door to retrieve it, and in the prologue it turns out she was the one that gave Peach the map in the first place, which of course caused all the pieces to fall into place from there. Having Beldum be the one responsible for everything is a bit far-fetched in places, but it still works really well and makes for an entertaining plot twist.
It was okay.
What do you know? The Shadow Queen possesses Peach and takes her physical form. She proceeds to shroud the entire world in darkness, and despite our hero's best attempts, she's just too powerful for them. But with the real superpower of teamwork, Mario and his friends are able to take her on. Here's what you need. Bobbery's Bombast, Vivian's Veil. Throw in some other powerful attacks, and you should be okay.
Congratulations, you won.
So the day is saved, Peach is back to normal, Mario says goodbye to his party members, and he and Princess Peach return to the Mushroom Kingdom with no sign of Toadsworth. Kind of thought he was going to play a bigger part in the game judging from the intro, but maybe he just stayed behind with Zest T to get his total toes sucked. Then we see the Mario brothers back at their house, where Mario gets an email from Goombella telling him what she and the rest of his party's been up to since he left. Goombella's serving as Frankly's assistant, Koops learned to stick up for himself, Flurry got back into acting and is now starring in a play based on the events of the game, Couscous became a fighter at the Glitz Pit, Vivian reconciled with her sisters, Bobbery went back to sailing, and Miss Mouse returned to her life as a thief. This ending has a nice, relaxing sense of satisfaction and closure. That is, until Peach drops by to invite Mario on yet another adventure.
Oh shit, here we go again.
This was one of the hardest scripts I've ever had to write for a video, because I pushed myself so hard to try and come up with the nicest compliments I could possibly give, and at the same time, I feel like anything I say still wouldn't be enough to emphasize how much this game means to me. But I think I made it obvious enough at this point. You ever play a game where you can tell the developers had an absolutely great time making it? Like everyone involved put their heart and soul into every possible aspect of the game because they just loved it that much? Thousand-Year Door is one of the few games I've played where I feel that's the most noticeable. It has a couple hiccups here and there, but they're mostly visual and there aren't that many. Vivian's tail can look a bit glitchy sometimes, and in one instance, I saw Mario slowly sliding to the left while talking to this bandit. But that's not nearly enough to turn me off from the game completely. I love this game so much that I also kind of hate it in a way. I hate how deep and rich its story is. I hate how diverse and lovable the characters are. I hate how endearing and memorable the worlds are. I hate how much the battle system was polished and refined. This game is so detestably amazing that it puts the first Paper Mario to shame. I might be overblowing it a bit, but honestly, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door really is that great. The amount of detail put into each location is astonishing. In Chapter 2, you have to make these pictures appear in the right order to get to a hidden room where you can find the Super Boots. The pattern is found near the bottom of the Great Tree, but did you also notice that this same pattern is visible in Professor Frankly's house? One thing that always stuck with me ever since I was a kid was when these Piantas beat up on these Craws in the background when we talked to Toadsworth near the start of the game. What did these guys do to get on Don Pianta's hit list? There's also a lot of great callbacks to the first Paper Mario. You can meet up with Bo and Bootler at the end of the game. Colorado turns out to have been a student of Professor Frankly's, and his father's skeleton is found in Hooktail Castle. Junior Troopa can be seen in the background of a photo that the real Zip Toad sends you. You can even jump over fire bars to make them burst into coins just like the original. And you know, it's cool to see the Famicom Disk System startup screen on Grotus's computer, and it's cool to hear music from Super Mario World whenever Mario gets an email on his Mailbox SP, but my absolute favorite Easter egg in the entire game is when we're talking to Luigi. Bobbery is the only one that doesn't fall asleep during any of Luigi's stories. The developers didn't have to put that into the game, but it makes so much sense for Bobbery's character, and it's such a meaningful little thing that... guys, this game is just so good. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is truthfully something special. I think it's one of the best Mario games ever made, right up there with Super Mario World and Super Mario Odyssey for me. But if you still somehow aren't sold on it after watching this video, then I don't know what else to tell you except try it out for yourself. I can't give this game any higher recommendation if I tried, though it's pretty hard to find for cheap these days. But if you at least have the specs to run it on an emulator, then please give it a shot. I promise you will find something to love about it. And if you're already a Thousand-Year Door superfan like me, then you might have also signed this petition in support of an HD version of the game for the Switch. This wasn't even a thing before I started working on this video, but it's really cool to see it gaining so much traction. Arlo, my man, thank you for doing this. I don't know if an HD port will ever see the light of day, but the least we can do is show Nintendo how much we want it. So sign the petition, spread the word, and let your voice be heard.
Hey, that rhymes.
But for now, I think it's about time we wrap up this year's Summer of Mario. And to do that, we have to answer a question. At one point during the game, that Toad kid in Petalburg talks about how he'd just beaten Thousand-Year Door. Then he asks Mario if it'll ever get a sequel. Well, basically, the answer is yes. Kind of. Super Paper Mario is coming up next, so I'll see you guys then. While you're at it, go sign that petition and spread this hashtag around. That's it. I don't have a joke to end on, just help make this Jersey boy's dream come true!
Hollow, thanks for watching everybody, and as always, a very special thank you to the patrons on screen as well as Henry Newman, my Superstar supporter for this month. Well, technically he's a Superstar supporter plus, but it just sounds weird to call him that in these outros. But anyway, if you'd like to support me as well, please consider pledging to my Patreon page or becoming a sponsor by clicking the join button. None of these are proprietary, you don't have to do these things if you don't want to, but it would genuinely mean so much to me if you at least gave them a look. Links to my social media and Discord server are in the description, and if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, or whatever it is I'm doing, like if I'm posting something on my community page or whatever, then be sure to click that little bell icon down there, or ring that bell, save by the bell. I don't know why YouTube did it, it's stupid, but in general, YouTube is stupid. Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, and with that said, this is Mark bidding you all a smashing farewell. I'll see you guys later.